ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधि वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्व मृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। नारायण नारायण नारायण। Supreme consciousness Bhagawan Krishna, in order to uplift his friend turned devotee and disciple Arjuna, who had reached a state of complete delusion and lost the sight of what his duty is and what he set out for, or just sat down on the chariot surrendering in that, I cannot fight this war at all. In order to uplift this friend who's been turned into devotee and disciple, Bhagwan Krishna, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, condensed the entire teaching of our scriptures into one chapter and gave whole overview of the spirituality, which is the only way to uplift a person who's deluded from his duties. Is Bhagwan gave that entire condensed form of that teaching and advice in chapter 2. Having said that, and I have told you once in the podcast before also, but I'm repeating it again. Actually, the entire teaching of Bhagavad Gita has been given in a condensed form in chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the overview of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Then what is there from chapter 3 up to chapter 18? So that's what you need to understand. Chapter 3 to chapter 17 is basically an elaboration of the topics given by Bhagwan in chapter 2. Supreme Consciousness Bhagawan Krishna in chapter 2. So from 3 to chapter 17 is basically a commentary on chapter 2 by Bhagawan Krishna. That's how you need to understand. So popularly all the saints call it. Actually, chapter 3 to chapter 17 is a Bhashya on whatever has been taught in chapter 2 by Bhagawan Krishna himself. So he's elaborating each and every topic there. And chapter 18, whatever topic is left out from by being covered from chapter 3 to 17, some of those topics along with a complete summary of the teachings have been given by Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna in chapter 18. This is how you need to understand the entire set of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagwan, Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna gave the entire set of teaching in chapter 2. Now even when we hear chapter 2, we feel that many things we need more clarity, right? Many things Bhagwan had touched the topic. Bhagwan has explained the topic well in chapter 2. He has said whatever needed to be said for that particular topic in chapter 2 itself. But we are all of us are not qualified students, so we may not be able to understand everything in its entirety, so to say, or may not be able to understand things in the way we need to do it. Then there are people who ask me questions also today. I understand karma yoga, but I fail to understand how should I do it. All those kind of questions, how should I do this, how should I do bhakti, why bhakti is important, what is karma yoga, all those things are being covered from chapter 3 until chapter 17, with chapter 18 covering the remaining topics along with the complete summary of the teachings of entire Bhagavad Gita. So this is how we need to understand Bhagavad Gita. So we are now stepping into chapter 3 today. So today I'm going to spend time introducing the chapter. So before introducing the chapter, I need to tell you one thing. Bhagwan Bhashyakar, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, has written a beautiful piece of Sambandh Bhashya, connecting chapter 2 to chapter 3. Brilliant piece of commentary, a brilliant piece of Bhashya by Bhagwan Shankaracharya, and it is quite big and elaborate. If I take the entire thing, it may take few episodes to just cover the Bhashya only. I'm not doing that because I want to step into the chapter 3 also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the Bhashya. I'm not going to read the entire Bhashya. Before I get into the Bhashya, I want to give you some overview about the style of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji in terms of writing the Bhashya on all our scriptures. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is like par excellence. That's why we call him Bhagwan. Actually, we call him incarnation of Bhagwan Shiva only, who came down, who incarnated to actually simplify scriptures for us. Without him, I don't think we would have been able to understand scriptures the way we are able to understand it today. His Bhashya is the piece because of which we are able to understand scriptures the way we are able to understand now. You see in the chapter 2 itself, these 72 verses, how many episodes it took and how much depth we could go because of Bhagwan Shankaracharya, because of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji's Bhashya and our Guru Parampara's teaching, that we could go into much elaborate depth about the chapter. Otherwise, if we just read the verse, we are not so well versed in Sanskrit to understand the verse itself, what to understand the deeper meaning. So Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya is a must for all the students of Sanatan Dharma if they really want to understand Sanatan Dharma correctly in its right import. And remember, Bhagwan and Bhashyakar Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's commentary is not a personal commentary, not at all. He has done commentary the way we need to understand scriptures. It's not out of that he wants his own popularity or name. No, his purpose have been very simple. With only one objective, Bhagwan Shankaracharya has written commentary on all our scriptures, Shruti, Smriti, and Puran and Brahma Sutra and all, with only one objective, that the real import of our scripture should be brought in front of students who are real serious students, or serious researchers of our Sanatan Dharma scriptures must be able to understand the exact import of what is being told in our Upanishads, in our Bhagavad Gita, in our Brahma Sutra, etc., in the correct form and manner. He did not do anything for his personal popularity at all. But if he would have not been there, I think it would have been very difficult for us to carry forward Sanatan Dharma in terms of understanding it correctly. That is the role of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. In a small age of 32 years, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has written commentary on everything which is possible, every available scripture of us, whether it is Upanishads, whether it is Brahma Sutra, whether it is Bhagavad Gita and Smriti and all. And he has in every bhashya of his, he's quoted from so many Upanishads, so many Purana and all. It's very difficult for us to even fathom the fact that how knowledgeable, what source of knowledge Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji had. Means what? He knew every aspect of Vedas, even Karmakand also. For him to quote Karmakand the way it is to be quoted, what a kind of meda he had. We can't even think of anybody possessing such skills, such kind of immense intellectual power. That's why he is Bhagwan himself. His commentary is so pure that there is not even a wee bit of personal kind of understanding at all. He has made us understand scriptures the way we need to understand it correctly. So to tell about Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya, Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya style is this one. He will write the commentary, even in Upanishads Bhashya also is if you read Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya, at places where you feel that people following Karmakand may have objection, what he does in his Bhashya itself, he will pose as Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha are actually Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa is called Karmakand of Vedas, and Uttar Mimamsa is called Jnana Kand of Vedas. So these are how we need to understand our Vedas split into two. I'm going to talk about that as I move into Bhashya also, because Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has also touched that aspect here. So I'm going to explain you there. But what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji does is that wherever Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji feels that whatever he has explained, there could be a different understanding or a misconception from the side of Karmakandis or the Purva Mimamsaks who are following Karmakanda, that they may not be able to understand it correctly. So what Bhagwan Shankaracharya will do, he will pose as Purva Paksha, as a Purva Mimamsak, and pose a question as a Purva Mimamsak or Karmakandi, and that question will be in the Bhashya itself, and that's what we call as Purva Paksha. And he will give Purva Paksha the question of them, and then he will answer that question as Uttar Paksha. So he will only pose as Purva Paksha, he will only pose as Uttar Paksha. Many places, many Acharyas says that while he was writing the Bhashya, many Purva Pakshas must have come and asked those questions, but that's the way for us to interpret. But I feel that Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji himself has posed all the questions which can come from the other side also. And posed those questions and answered those questions also. So in this commentary also, in this what you call that Sambandh Bhashya also, Bhagwan has used Puru Paksha and Uttar Paksha in many places. And what beauty of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, that he had answered, or and he had given responses to many of those questions also, and then he has also who quoted many others Upanishads, and including many Upanishads also, and also quoted from Mahabharata, and also quoted from a conversation between Dev Guru Brahaspati ji and his student also, to answer or to bring out aspects of the scripture, so that we are able to be prepared enough to step into chapter 3 correctly and able to understand it correctly. So I will tell you, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji in this Prastavana Bhashya, in this Sambandh Bhashya itself, he has quoted Mahanarayana Upanishad, he's quoted Javaliko Upanishad, he has quoted Mahabharata, he has quoted at Brahaspati Samvad also, Brahaspati and Kach Samvad also. He has quoted many of them for us to understand the things correctly. So what I am going to do is, I am not going to read the entire Bhashya in the interest of time and for us to cover the topic. I am going to read a portion of Bhashya, but I'll try to give you a gist of the entire thing. And when I try to explain the entire entire aspect of Sambandh Bhashya of Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji. Let's step into Sambandh Bhashya of written by Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji. Om अथ तृतीयो अध्यायः. भगवान शंकराचार्य जी भाष्य, संबंध भाष्य. शास्त्रस्य प्रवृत्ति निवृत्ति विषय भूते द्वे बुद्धि भगवता निर्दिष्टे सांख्ये बुद्धि योगे बुद्धि इति च तत्र प्रजहाति यदा कामान् इति आरभ्य आ अध्याय परिसमाप्तेः सांख्य बुद्ध्याश्रितानां संन्यासं कर्तव्यम् उक्त्वा तेषां तन्निष्ठतया एव च कृतार्थता उक्ता एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः इति. अर्जुनाय च कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा ते संगोस्त्वकर्मणि इति कर्म एव कर्तव्यम् उक्तवान्. योग बुद्धिम् आश्रित्य न तत एव श्रेयः प्राप्तिम् उक्तवान्. तद एतद् आलक्ष्य पर्याकुलीभूत बुद्धिः अर्जुन उवाच. कथं भक्ताय श्रेयोर्थिने यत् साक्षात् श्रेयस्साधनं सांख्य बुद्धिनिष्ठां श्रावयित्वा मां कर्मणि दृष्टानेकानर्थयुक्ते पारंपर्येण अपि अनेकान्तिक श्रेय प्राप्ति फले नियुञ्जात् इति युक्तः पर्याकुली भावः अर्जुनस्य. तदनुरूपच्च प्रश्नः जायसी चेतित्यादिः. प्रश्नापकरणवाक्यं च भगवता उक्तं यथोक्त विभाग विषये शास्त्रे. भगवान शंकराचार्य जी, connecting the chapter 2 to chapter 3, and connecting both those chapters together, he remembers chapter 2 and the aspects of chapter 2, and remembering the chapter 2 and the aspects of chapter 2, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji said these words. What are the first words Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji said? Shastrasya pravritti nivritti vishaya bhute dve buddhi bhagavata nirdishte. Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna, from the beginning itself in chapter 2, or in the chapter 2 itself, Bhagavan, Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna brought out two parts of teaching of our scriptures, of our Sanatan Dharma scriptures. Two sets of teachings of our Sanatan Dharma scriptures. Bhagavan, Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna, from the beginning of chapter 2, wherever Bhagavan Krishna's teaching started, he brought it out. And this is exactly what has been said, when I took up the Upodghat or Prastavana Bhashya, which Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji wrote before even the text of Bhagavad Gita started. And I read out some portions of that in one of the podcast episodes, the Upodghat or Prastavana Bhashya of Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji. In that Prastavana Bhashya of Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, below the verse, below the actual verse, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji in the third para had brought out something there. If we recollect that, let's try to remember that so that we can connect this thing in, so to say. In the Upodghat or Prastavana Bhashya Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, Bhagwan Shankaracharya started with one verse. Om Narayana Paro Vyaktad Andam Avyakta Sambhavam Andasyantastvime Lokaha Sapta Dvipa Cha Medini. Below that, in the third para, Bhagwan has brought out this is the point. Divido hi Vedokto Dharmaha Pravritti Lakshano Nivritti Lakshana Cha. That is the point I want to connect here. Here also Bhagwan Shankaracharya says what? Shastrasya pravritti nivritti vishaya bhute. The topic of our scripture or of our Sanatan Dharma scripture is divided into two. Okay, the entire topic of our scripture, Sanatan Dharma scripture, is divided into two. Why it is divided into two? It is divided into two depending upon two kinds of qualified students. There are two different kind of qualified students. Means the quality of students are of two kinds, broadly in two kinds. And since the type of students with their qualities are of two different kind of qualities, that is why a scripture has to give two different paths depending upon whichever quality one has, they can follow that particular path. So, what are the paths which he mentioned in the Upodghat or Prastavana Bhashya also, which is mentioning here also. He says, is Vivido hi Vedokto Dharmaha Pravritti hi Nivrittischa Nivrittischa. Here also he says what? Shastrasya Pravritti Nivritti Vishaya Bhute. Now, even though I explained in that episode, but let me pick it up again for you to just recall it in your memory. If you divide the entire creation and divide the entire set of population in and classify them with two different qualities, is since there are two different qualities of people available, that's why there are two different paths given. The first path is called pravritti and the next path is called nivritti. Since the path is two, that is why those who follow the pravritti path, for them the duty becomes pravritti dharma. For those who follow nivritti path, for them the dharma or duty becomes nivritti dharma. This is how the dharma is also classified. Duty is also classified. Now, before I go further, let me explain you what pravritti and nivritti means. Let me just recall it in your memory, even though I said it at that time also, but I'm recalling it so that we can understand it and we can move on this topic. Pravritti means, or the path of pravritti means, the path of action. And nivritti means renunciation. So, pravritti means action, nivritti means renunciation. So, depending upon these two vishaya, these two topics of Sanatan Dharma, the paths are also two. There is one pravritti path and there is one nivritti path. Okay, so that's how the whole thing is divided. The biggest point we need to remember is, many times we see people on the pravritti marg, they try to look down upon people from nivritti marg, but they don't understand that path at all. And sometimes some people who are new to nivritti marg also, or are naive on the nivritti marg also, they try to look down upon people from pravritti marg. Both are incorrect. Please remember one thing very clearly. If Sanatan Dharma, if this creation belongs to God, what if the creation belongs to God, and God knows what is in this creation? He knows the people can be broadly classified into two different sects of people, two different sections of people, two different kinds of people. One are pravritti margis, the one who follow the path of pravritti, a path of action, and the other one are nivritti margis, those who follow the path of renunciation. But remember one thing, pravritti marg is for all of us to follow. Of all of us means all the normal people to follow. Nivritti marg, those people will follow who have already done enough of pravritti marg and have gained the required qualifications to move into the next level. Nivritti marg is higher. I'll tell you the reason also. When I say higher and lower, again I'm repeating, I'm only telling you that don't look down upon anything. I'm not out, pointing out as higher and lower so that we all start looking up and down on each other. No, that's not the point. But I'm trying to tell you what, let me just explain you from a highway perspective for you to understand it clearly. Nivritti marg is actually like a ring road. Okay. And pravritti marg is like a national highway. Get it? So, what is the property of the ring road? Ring road also, the road is like, for those of you in India, I do not know in overseas how it is, but in India, definitely we have, especially Delhi and all, we have this ring road to avoid, traffic congestion and getting people getting lost here and there and all those things. They create something called ring road. Ring road is like a highway, it may be properly, 6-8 lane road, but the point of ring road is, if you just continue to follow the road, you will reach where you started, if you just continue to follow the road without any diversion. That is what is called ring road. And why I compared ring road with pravritti marg, I'll tell you. Pravritti marg, there is no end to pravritti marg. Pravritti will lead to more pravritti, it will lead to more pravritti. We'll be what you call that, we'll be gathering karma phala on the path of pravritti, and to enjoy that karma phala, we'll be born again. And while we are born again, to enjoy the karma phala, we'll end up doing more karma, and then more phala. There is no end to it. That is why I termed it as ring road, for me to explain it to you correctly. So pravritti marg is like ring road. Wherever you start, you continue to circle again and again and again and again, again and again, unless and until you decide one day, enough is enough. Let me not circle on this road. Let me take a highway and reach somewhere. And when people get at to that mode, that is when we call the people that they are qualified to move into Nivritti Marga. Why Nivritti Marg is like a national highway? Nivritti Marg is the one which will actually lead you to the correct goal of every life. Correct goal I'm using. Huh? Rest, the pravritti marga will is just a mixture of what? Vasana, karma phala. Then again karma, again new vasanas, new karma phala. It's a, that is why it is called in Bhajagovindam as Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jathare Shayanam, Ihasansare Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare Pahi Murare. This is what Bhajagovindam's line is. It is like birth and death, cycle of birth and death, and that is why it is called cycle of birth and death, because it's a circle. We are circling in this cycle of birth and death. I don't know since which life we have been circling, and the way we are leading life today, we don't see any end in the near future also with that particular thing. So that's why there are two paths, pravritti and nivritti. Nivritti is like a national highway. Those people who get tired of circling again and again and again and again on the ring road, and decide that enough is enough. Now I need to get something different, and need to know what is my real goal in life as a human being, and want to work towards it. How much journey I cover is immaterial, but at least I want to start walking that highway. And that highway is really long, by the way. So that's why it is said that real from we walking the path of spirituality to realization may take many lives. For some it may take, some may gain realization in this life itself, some may gain in 2 lives, some may gain in 4 lives. It is depending upon how and when did you start that journey. But having said that, if it takes time, the journey is long, that doesn't mean that I end up saying that why should I start. It is up to you. You want to circle, how long will you circle on this ring road? How many lives more you want to do that? So that is how you need to understand pravritti marg and nivritti marg. In reality, pravritti marg, the path of action and path of renunciation, pravritti and nivritti, are actually two parts of our life. This life, there are two parts to it, pravritti and nivritti. I think in one of the episode I said about shram and vishram. Every action, every hard work we do is not for the sake of hard work. We do hard work so that by the end of it we can reach somewhere and rest, isn't it? Or is it that I started walking from Chandigarh to Delhi, so that I can again and again from Delhi I can come back to Chandigarh, then I can go back to Chandigarh. That is that's not what the thing is about. My purpose is, if I start a journey from one place to another, I would want to reach that place and rest before I start the next journey. So every shram is actually for vishram. But the thing which we do not understand is, there is no end to action. Action need to end in, if we do the action correctly. Why Bhagawan is expounding upon karma yoga so much? If we do action with correct intent, in the correct manner, or with the correct devotion, Trust me, the action itself should lead us into renunciation. The purpose of action should not be to lead into more action and more action and more action, and there is no end to action at all. The purpose of action should actually be to lead us to renunciation. That will happen only if we have done our action with correct intent, fulfilling our duties with devotion, without any kind of adharma at all. That's only when we can actually think that our action is going to lead us into renunciation. So that's what they say. Pravritti and nivritti, or path of action and path of renunciation, are actually two parts of life, or two paths of life. Parts of life or paths of life, we can say that. And since scriptures, Sanatan Dharma scriptures, explain about the actual aspects of life, talks about our life as a being, and is trying to explain the actual essence of life. That's why Sanatan Dharma scriptures accepts both the kind of students with both the kind of qualities, and gives teaching of both the paths. That is what we need to understand about Sanatan Dharma. Now let's see what are the qualities of students of each of these paths. That also we should pick up, right? So there we need to understand one part of people, one part of the population, which is the major chunk of population, who are qualified for pravritti, the path of action, or pravritti marg. We will see that inside them, in their inner equipment, there is actually, you can spot the culture of enjoyership residing in them, culture of enjoyment residing in them. That they want to enjoy this, they want to enjoy travel, they want to enjoy these objects, they want to enjoy new technologies, they want to enjoy visiting new places. So the culture of enjoyment is residing in them. Along with that, the other part which will be there in them, that they will be grossly focused. Now when I say grossly focused, don't take it in a derogatory sense at all. We in Sanskrit use the word bahirmukta. Bahirmukta means they are externally focused. There are two kind of focus we have. Either we are externally focused on the external things, objects, situations and people, or the other kind of people will be those who are internally focused, who are constantly improving themselves, constantly analyzing themselves, critical of themselves. Those who are externally focused, they may end up being critical of others rather than being critical of themselves. So they have something called bahirmukta, that they are externally, or they are externally focused, or focused on the gross things. They are not subtly focused, so to say. And then the other thing we'll see in them is they have culture of both doership and enjoyership. They have the kartrutva also and bhoktrutva also in them. And then also along with that, we'll see their raga and dvesha, their love slash attachment and hatred slash aversion, also will be strong in them. It's going to be quite strong in them. Along with that, the other thing we see in them is asmita and klesh. What? The ego of mine. This belongs to me. I am this and this. I am that and that. This is mine. That is mine. I will want to make this mine. I have the power to make anything in this world as mine. Those are the kind of asmita we speak about. And along with that comes something called klesha. Klesha means what we call it as bhaya, krodha, Irsha, Dvesha, all those things are, those vikaras are called klesha. That we have jealousy, we have anger, or we have, what you call that, fear, all those things sprout out of them. In such people, you will see their inner equipment and or chitta is constantly getting converted into raga and dvesha all the time. I like this, I hate this, I have no liking for this. It's constantly converting. I like this, I hate that, I like this, I hate that. This love and hatred is going constantly in their inner equipment. Why that another thing which we'll see in them is why is that also, that is also related to this reason I'm talking about. In them you will see there is abundance of rajas and tamas. So the primary gunas in them, the primary properties in them is actually rajas and tamas. Actually sattva is quite low. Now, one thing we need to understand before I move into the qualities of the next, category of student. Let us say one thing. I did not say all these things to put down and all, but I'm only trying to make you understand. Let's look within us and understand what is there in us. One thing you will notice at the level of ignorance, when we are in the state of ignorance, ignorance means what? Not ignorance of the other subjects I'm talking about, the worldly subjects I'm talking about. Here, when I use the word ajnana dasha or the state of ignorance, I'm talking about ignorance about our true nature as self, supreme consciousness. I'm talking about that as ignorance here. So, we will notice in the state of ignorance, the doership is there in everybody. All of us have got doership, but what makes each one of us different from each other is, in some we will see that the doership is very strong, very intense, and in some we will see it is at normal level, in some we will see it is quite weakened, it is quite low intensity. So even though kartrutva or the doership is there in everyone, when we are at the state of ignorance, when we are at the level of ignorance about our true nature as self, even though the doership is there in everyone, but the intensity will be different, and that's what differs person from one person from another person. And in the same way as the doership, the enjoyership, bhoktritva also is there in everyone, but the only difference from person to person will be the intensity. In some it will be very strong, in some it will be normal, in some it will be very weakened or very low intensity, so to say. We call it, it will be manda. That is the only thing which makes us different from each other. And in the first category of students I spoke about, since they have got these kind of culture residing in them, the culture of especially the culture of bhoga, which I bhoga means the enjoyership, which I brought out first among the qualities when I spoke about. uh, since it is there, the culture of bhoga or enjoyership is there in in all of us at the state of ignorance. We will see that this culture of enjoyment puts immense pressure on our intellect, immense pressure on our intellect to force us into action to gain the desired result. Why I spoke about intensity of these a few minutes back, the force of action or the force of these culture on propagating us or pushing us into action will completely depend upon the intensity of these culture in us, right? If the intensity is severe, we see people that I know it is wrong, but what should I do? I, as if something forced me to do it. What is that forced you to do it? The culture you cultivated within you. That is what you need to understand. So even though these kind of cultures are there in everyone, but their pressure on our intellect to force us or push us into action is not the same in everyone. Why it is not the same in everyone? Now I'll bring out the next category of people. There are this kind of people who we also see in this creation. There are some people in whom the culture of enjoyership is there, culture of enjoyment is there in them, but along with that, parallelly something else also exists in their inner equipment. What is that at something else which exists in the inner equipment along with the culture of, along with the thought of enjoyment? That is something which is cultivated over many past lives. People have something called the culture of yoga. Yoga means asan, pranayam, dhyana, samadhi, ityadi, ityadi. Yoga, the samadhi of yoga is also there in some people. And also there are culture of sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practices. There is culture of spiritual practices along with the, and remember, they are along with the culture of enjoyment in them. So we see that some people are there who have cultivated over the past lives culture of yoga, culture of sadhana, which is culture of spiritual practices, culture of dhyana, meditation, culture of bhakti, devotion. These cultures are also present in them. Why? Because they have cultivated it themselves in the past life. Why do you think I keep telling in the WhatsApp group I've created for listeners is that, definitely grow in love and devotion for God, or earn punya in life, and ensure that you have some spiritual practice is which is part of your life, because that is going to go long way. All the other kind of education is going to remain here. In the next life we'll have to start from nursery only. Whosoever starts nursery, kg, ukg, lkg and all those things we call about, we'll have to start from kindergarten only at that time, and all the other education will have to start from scratch. But this is the only thing which will continue from where we left. So this is one thing which is there parallelly along with the culture of enjoyment, or the thought of enjoyment in such people. That is what makes them different from the first category of people I spoke about. Now, one more thing I wanted to tell you. If you remember Pujya Gurudev's the BMI chart, you will see above BMI something called Vasana. A few minutes back also I said the actual, when I was explaining ring road to you, that the Pravritti Marg is like ring road. I told you what we do: karma, generate create or cultivate vasana. We come back, what you call that, enjoy the karma full of what karma we did, you know dispense some vasanas, earn new vasanas, and this is how the circle is going on. When I said that, one more thing I want to highlight about vasanas now. For vasanas, it is said by our Guru Parampara that Shubha Shubhabhyam Vasana Vahati. Vasana is like a flowing river. It's like a flowing river. When river flows, especially in the summer season and the rainy season, you will see lot of mud and dirt also flows along the river when the river expands and all those things. Also, when the rain comes, many of these drains and water and all, that collected water and all, they go and join the river, which makes the river dirty. So it is said Vasana is like a massively flowing river. What? Pure water is also flowing in that river, and along with the pure water, dirty water is also flowing. So Shubh Ashubhabhyam. Shubh means auspicious, Ashubhabhyam means inauspicious. So if we really look at our own construct, we will know that all of us have got both auspicious vasanas also, inauspicious vasanas also, and that is one of the reasons why we are born as human beings. Nobody can say that I have only auspicious vasanas in me. Inauspicious vasanas don't exist. You are making a fool of yourself. It is not possible at all. If you are born as a human being, both vasanas will be there. The only difference will be, because you have a created or cultivated strong culture of positive things, your inauspicious vasanas will not find what you call that, a vent out in you, will not be able to lead you into an action, will not be able to push you into an action. It's not that it is not there. Its power, it will become powerless. Its power will be so low that it won't be able to guide you into any action at all. That is what makes the difference. Remember, when we say vasanas, each one of us have got auspicious or good vasanas also flowing in us, and inauspicious or bad vasanas also flowing in us. Those people, those saints and sages who understand life, they cannot accept this statement that a culture is only of good things and culture is not of bad things at all. They cannot accept it. One of the mistakes I want to highlight here, which has happened, especially the modern objective scientists of the West, and amongst them I'll call out those who are actually doing human psychological research, who have established study of human psychology and all. Those scientists I'm talking about, objective scientists, they have reached a conclusion that desire in all of us is a basic culture in all of us, is something which is inherent in all of us. Or I would use one more word for you to make you understand this: it is something which is natural in all of us. In Hindi the word is वो हमारे अंदर का मूल संवेग है. It is something which is there in present in all of us naturally. Remember, there is where our subjective scientists differ. Our subjective scientists are very clear in this analogy. They are very clear in saying this, that none of the culture in any of us is natural. None of the culture are born with us, or they came in existence along with us and will go with us. None of the culture is like that. They are not, none of the culture are actually can be categorized in the category of being natural. What is the problem in you know not accepting that fact that they are natural? Because that which is natural cannot be corrected ever. That means I am making it as an excuse that since it is natural, it is something which is come with me, will remain with me forever. It is not something which I can work upon. That is where the mistake happens. So remember one thing: no culture we see in us, whether auspicious or whether inauspicious, is something which is natural. All the culture which is there in beings or human beings are something which has been cultivated. They have all been constructed. They have all been made up. They have all been worked upon. The reason why we don't accept that as prakritik or natural is that that which is natural means it is automatically there without my effort, and since it is there automatically without my effort, that means it cannot be corrected with my effort. That means I am excusing myself that this is how I am. And many people say that also. Remember, this is how I am and I will remain this way. If there is anything to be improved, you only do it yourself. You improve yourself, I will remain this way. Because they think that these are things that has come naturally in me. Nothing is natural. Everything has been created and cultivated by us. This is one of the reason why when Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayanand created, or what you call that, had asked the Chinmay Mission members to create something called Bal Vihar, and very popular in Chinmay Mission. Those people who know Chinmay Mission, they will know that Bal Vihar is basically cultural association of kids. Cultural association means that association or that training session of kids to train them or to imbibe culture in the kids. Why he created Bal Vihar? There is a big reason behind it which we need to understand. A kid, when a kid is born, remember at that time when they are born, vasanas which have been in them from the past lives, they don't open up. God has done such a beautiful arrangement in this creation. I'm telling you, this creation of God is really wonderful, and trust me, nobody can replicate it. I'm telling you loud and clear, nobody can replicate it. You can create whatever you want and you cannot replicate this creation at all. So has done so beautifully that when a kid is born up to the age of 13, our past life vasanas don't open up. They don't come into manifestation. They don't push us into action. Okay, that's one thing we need to understand. When a kid reaches the age of 13, at that time, past lives vasanas open up and starts manifesting in terms of the action. Now, Pujya Gurudev said, if we are able to imbibe positive culture in kids till the time they reach the age of 13, which is why the Bal Vihar was created. Bal Vihar is for small kids up to the age of 16 actually. 13 to up to 16 it is there. So if we are able to imbibe positive culture or plant positive culture in kids before they reach the age of 13. When the age of 13 comes and when vasanas open up, if there is already presently existing build up positive culture in the kid, trust me, the inauspicious vasanas will not find a ground to push this kid into action. They will lose their power to push this kid into action. And that's why, many times you will see parents say, this kid was so good, I don't know what suddenly happened. Nothing suddenly happened. The vasanas opened up and now he's a different person altogether. So it is utmost important for us to imbibe a positive culture in the kids till the time they reach the age of 13. And when the positive culture is imbibed, is cultivated in a person, trust me, negative vasanas cannot force you into action. Negative vasanas lose their power on you completely, and that is one of the way for you to build correct vasanas in your life. But then the preparation has to start from childhood. Actually, to be honest with you, preparation starts in mother's womb only. So they say from the third month onwards, kid is listening to all that you do, listening to all that you hear, all that you see, everything is getting into the kids, so to say. So the culture building starts from the time when the kid is in the womb. And the best example of that is Prahlad ji. Prahlad ji, it is said, when Hiranyakashipu's wife was pregnant with Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu went for his sadhana, Narad ji saw that there is a very bright child who is going to come. What he did not kill Hiranyakashipu's wife at all. He took Hiranyakashipu's wife to his ashram and he started teaching Srimad Bhagavat to Hiranyakashipu's wife. But Hiranyakashipu's wife was not so qualified or not so cultured, so to say. So it is said in Srimad Bhagavat that she used to go off asleep, but Narad ji used to continue narrating Bhagavat, and he used to hear from the womb there is one person listening, sitting inside the womb and saying mm, and that's how the Prahlad ji got the entire Bhagavat. And irrespective of father being so, it could not shake up, it could not move Prahlad at all. That's how Prahlad has been made. These stories are there for us to understand the culture building starts where. So apparently that is the bigger point we need to understand. This is the reason why Puja Gurudev kept Bal Vihar. If we have built strong culture within us, trust me, our vasanas, irrespective of how many vasanas we may have, which is not good for us at all, they may not find a ground to manifest or push us into action. Here it is said that in this description which I'm saying, even if the culture of desire is there, and even if that culture of desire is there, but if along with that, if there is culture of yoga, dhyana, and bhakti, all those things are there along with it, then trust me, this desire also will not be able to make us lose in life. It will not be able to make us lost in life, so to say. That's what we need to understand. So this is how our culture, we need to understand that every culture we see today is actually cultivated by us. Remember, what culture, whether it is the culture of desire, fulfilling desires, whether it is the culture of yoga, whether it is the culture of anger, or it is any culture which we see inside us, none of them are natural. All of them have been worked upon by us, sown by us, cultivated by us. That is the most important point we need to understand. No vasanas have come from outside forcefully to us. Nothing comes to us forcefully. It's only our choice which makes the difference. Nothing is forced upon us. But yes, we have the freedom of choice. So we choose, so we become. That's why it is very important and to use one word in our life. In corporates it is used there. In many corporate work it is said due diligence. The biggest due diligence we should do is What are we encouraging? What are we watching? What are we bending our interest towards? What are we, which company or association of people we are engaging with? What are we actually entertaining? What is the source of entertainment? Because trust me, everything is going inside us as impression. Impression is nothing but vasana only. It is all creating vasana in us. Now, when since I spoke about this topic that culture is not something which is natural, then I should also give you one more thing. What are the things which are natural in all of us? I should not leave you here that culture is not natural. Then somebody can come up say that means what? Nothing is natural in us. Everything we have cultivated. No, there are three kind of thoughts, three kind of things which is natural in all of us. And why it is natural? Because it is emanating out of our true form as the true supreme eternal self. What are those three basic foundational thoughts or foundational things which are natural in all of us? They are at the core of everything we do. That is why it is natural. Doesn't need to be corrected at all. Remember, that which comes naturally, you can do nothing about it. It will remain there. It will make you into act also. It is not something which you can correct, which is not something which you can eradicate. It is not something which you can remove. These three things, which are foundational thought, which is the core of our personality, all of us, they are coming from, they are the properties of the supreme consciousness, the supreme self, the all pervading self, which is my own self also. What are those three basic core thoughts which are at the core of all of us as natural things in us, inherent thing in us all the time? Let me just pick up those things one by one. Now, before I go into that description, I want to tell you one thing very clearly. Of the three things I'm going to speak about, two of them we can recognize, but one is very little difficult for us to recognize. Now listen to what are those three things. Means, two can be caught very easily that yes, this is there. The first core thought in all of us is to protect ourselves from destruction. This is a natural thought in all of us. Means what? In Hindi we will say अपने अस्तित्व को बचाने की कोशिश, the effort to protect ourselves from getting destroyed, the effort to protect ourselves from becoming non-existent. This is how you need to understand that word. Now just think over it very clearly. This thought is natural in all beings. Now I'm using one word, all beings. It's not only natural in human being, it is natural in all beings. Let me give you an example for you to understand. In jungle, when a tiger or lion runs after a deer, why do the deer run as fast as possible? It is to protect itself from getting destroyed, from becoming non-existent. This thought, this core thought, is naturally present in every being in this creation. Since I'm on the topic of being, I want to highlight one more thing from Upodghat or Prastavana Bhashya of Bhagawan Shankaracharya ji. When he gave the definition of dharma, he spoke about that very, very loud and clear. Bhagawan Shankaracharya ji said there that Sanatan Dharma, or the Dharma in real sense, actually only Sanatan Dharma qualifies to be called as Dharma. Rest all other religion are actually not qualified to be called as Dharma. They are all community. That is why they can have a difference in level of communal level. They are communities following a particular philosophy. They cannot qualify as dharma. What is the definition of dharma which Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji gave in Prastavana Bhashya, Upodghat? It's there in the fourth para of his Bhashya. Below the third para, which I already spoke about, Divido hi Vedokto Dharma, Pravritti Lakshana, Nivritti Lakshana cha. Since he spoke about dharma, he took it upon him to explain dharma also there. Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji very beautifully said there, Jagata sthiti karanam प्राणीनाम साक्षाद अभ्युदय निश्रेयस हेतु यह सह धर्म ब्राह्मणाद्यैहि वर्णिभिः आश्रमिभिः च श्रेयो अर्थिभिः अनुष्ठीयमानः. So, dharma cannot talk about only human beings. No. Then that dharma is incomplete. That is why I said that, for us, Sanatan Dharma talks about Sarva Praninam. It's not Manushyanam. He did not mention there Manushyanam Abhyudesh Nishreyasa Hetu. No, he didn't say that. He said Praninam Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Hetu. Bhagwan Shankaracharya did not make a typo error there. He did not make an error in mentioning there. He could have said Manushyanam Sakshat Abhyuday Nishrey Setu. No, he didn't say that. He said Praninam. Dharma is that which takes or talks about the creation as a whole. A dharma philosophy talks about creation as a whole, it must address other beings also in the creation, which is like birds, animals, and plant kingdom also. So, when we talk about communities, the other, so to say, religions, because they wanted to compare with other religions, so they said Hindu as a religion. But Sanatan Dharma does not qualify as a religion as other religions are. It is far higher than that. Far higher than that. Why? Because it talks about the entire creation, not only about human being. One side effect of only talking about human beings is human beings thinks that everything else in this creation is for them to use, is at their disposal. Who gave you that permission? I'm telling you honestly, telling you one thing, that I straightforward ask this thing to many people who I meet. Who gave you the permission to kill other beings? Who? You can kill other beings only if you have the ability to create beings. You don't have that ability. Can you create animals? Can you create plants? You can only sow them. You don't create them, right? So those you cannot create, how can you think of destroying them? Now, one argument which some people foolishly give us is that, then that means we cannot eat vegetables also. No, you are not understood the Jeev Jagat clearly. There are in this creation, there are Ekindriya Jeev and there are Bahuindriya Jeev also. There are some Jivas who have got only one sense. There are some Jivas who have got all five senses. When those Jivas who have got all five senses, their experience of pain is different than the experience of pain of an Ekindriya Jeev. This creation is created in such a way that it has to fulfill the need, but that doesn't mean that we have free license to kill anything and everything which comes in our way. I'm sorry, nobody gave you that. If you cannot create anything, you do not have the right to kill anyone also. So that's one thing we need to understand. And forget about killing in things. There are people who are killing human beings also. What to talk about? I don't even know where they are going to fall into, and they think that they will go into what you call Jannat and all those things. I do not know what kind of misconstrued concepts they have. Anyway, good luck to them if they have that concept. So this is the first thing which is there. The moment my security or my existence and moment I feel or experience an existential threat, remember, the moment I feel an existential threat to me, I will do everything to protect myself, because that is a demand that is a thought which is core in all of us. We all have the right to protect ourselves because we don't want to become non-existent. And I'm going to explain you where it is coming from also. So you will see that if something becomes an existential threat to me, something which I really love, I like so much, and it is part and parcel of my life, if I come to know that it is posing as an existential threat to me, it is going to make me non-existent very soon. Trust me, even a thing in which is of my deep liking also, I will not be hesitant to give it up. I'm just giving you an example for you to understand this better. Some person loves sweets, that cannot have a meal without sweet. Suddenly that person got diagnosed with diabetes. This is an easy example to give, because there are so many diabetic people in this whole creation, so it's very easy to understand. So this person got diagnosed with diabetes, and doctor said, I have no problem. You can continue to eat sweet, but it will reduce your lifespan. You can and think that you can enjoy the sweets and end up living only few years of life. Or the other option you have is give up sweets and enjoy longer life. So what will you choose? Even this person may love sweets so much that cannot have a single meal without sweets, but he will not be hesitant to give up sweets because it is posing as an existential threat to this person. And many people, some people say, that at the desire is a basic or natural thought in all of us, natural culture in all of us. Then, and my question to them is, if desire is a natural thing to all of us, when the thing which I desire becomes poses an existential threat to me, do I not give that up? If something is natural to me, how can I give up? So that's why it is not possible that desire is a core or natural thought in all of us. It cannot be. Now, one more thing I would want to say along with this is, from the thought of protecting our existence only, the another corresponding thought which comes is, or another thought which emanates from it, is called the thought of fear. What is fear? Why do we have fear? Now, the reason for fear can be many, but what are the popular reasons of fear we know of? The popular reasons of fear could be that I may end up losing my wealth, I may end up losing my name and fame. Society will look at me as a very low lying person. I lose the name which I earned with hard work. I will get what? Ill fame. It can be many. These are few I'm giving you. But at the core of these fearful thoughts, even though the cause may be this, the only thing which is at the core of it is the fear of losing my existence. Losing fear of existence. It poses as an existential threat. So actually, the actual core thing which is there at the core of a fear thought is that me losing my existence. All the other things are only ancillary. When I say, when I talk about my own existence being at stake, when I see that my life is reaching a state of destruction, and that is the time when I feel this thought comes in called fear. When I think that I cannot do anything to protect it, and to protect myself from getting destroyed or becoming non-existent, I will do anything possible towards that. Now, this the actual core thought is what? The thought of losing my existence. Even fear emanates from that particular thought. That is what we need to understand as the first natural thought in all of us. The second natural thought in all of us, and you can see anywhere, that I'll give you one example also for you to understand. The second natural thought in all of us is to remain happy, to remain blissful, to remain fulfilled, to remain contented. Now tell me something. Is that not a basic and natural thought in all of us? Is there any one of us who does not want to remain happy, does not want to reach a state of bliss, does not want to reach fulfillment, does not want to reach contentment? No, it's not possible at all. Let me tell you, even if you look at animal world also, they do do ahar and vihar. Ahar and vihar means they graze or eat food, and they roam around among their people. They play among their own breed and all. Why? To just enjoy. enjoyment is something which is natural in all of us. We don't have to bring this culture from outside. It is automatically there in all of us actually. These two thoughts I spoke about are core in all of us. They are natural in all of us. They are not born out of culture created or cultivated by us. What is the reason that these are as natural and core? Because our core self, our true self, the actual property of our true self is that it is the form of Satchidanand. Sat, Chit, and Anand. If you recall, my prayer at the beginning of the podcast is also what? Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. So we worship Bhagavan Krishna, all of us, Vayam Namaha, all of us prostrate unto Bhagavan Krishna. Who is Bhagavan Krishna? The rest three things are his properties. Satchidananda Rupaya, who was the form of Sat, Chit, and Anand. What is Sat, Chit, and Anand? Sat means existence, Chit means consciousness, and Anand means bliss. Now, Satchidananda Rupaya, and what is he? Vishwa Utpatti Adi Hetave. He is the cause from whom this entire creation is born, is comes out from him, maintains in him Utpatti Adi. Utpatti, Sthiti, and Pralay is what is meant by Utpatti Adi. Is born out of him, is maintained in him, and merges back or gains Pralay into him. Vishwotpatyati Hetave Tapatraya Vinashya. What all he can do for us? Why do we prostrate unto him? Since he is the creator himself, who is the form of existence, consciousness, and bliss, which is the form of supreme consciousness. So we are worshipping Bhagavan Krishna as supreme consciousness in that prayer. So what do I pray to him? I pray to him because what he can and bless me with is Tapatraya Vinashaya. He can destroy the three kind of tapas, three kind of problems which can come in my life. Problems come from three sources. I spoke about in one of the session also. Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, and Adhyatmik. All the problems which come in our life come from these three things only. So what we are prostrating unto Bhagavan Krishna and praying unto him that please destroy my three problem creators in my life. Three, what you call that? Three causes of sorrow in my life. Bhagavan, please destroy them because you are the creator of this creation who is in the form of Sat, Chit, and Anand, and you are the only one who can remove these three tapas from my life. So that is what the see in one of the episode I spoke about one of the prayer also. There are more elaboration to it, but that I'll take it in some other time. I'll probably do one episode on only the prayers which I do in the beginning, but let's see when we get time to do it. So since our true form is Sat, Chit, and Anand, that's why the first core thought I spoke about, the what do you call that, the core thought of protecting myself from becoming non-existent, it is tied back to the Sat aspect of my true self, because that's my true form. So it comes from Sat. Sat means existence. Okay. The second thought comes from the third aspect, Ananda. Ananda is my true nature. I don't have to beg for Ananda outside. Ananda is my true nature. Today it is being seen that I'm begging for Ananda from outside. Why? Because I've not understood my true nature yet. So this is where the first two core thoughts are coming from. Now you would have guessed the third one is coming from consciousness. I'm going to touch base upon that in a moment actually. Since our true nature is in the form of existence and bliss, that's why those things or those events which go against this, Against this is core property of mine. It is natural that I will try to protect myself from them, and I will raise voice against them. I will actually, what you call that, at what do you call that, I will actually stand up against them to protect myself from these. I'll raise an agitation against them to actually protect myself from them, so that they don't affect my life at all. No, since my true nature is in the form of existence, my destruction means what? I'll get into the asat bhava. From sat bhava, from existence, I will move into non-existence if I get destroyed. Since asat bhava I'm going to get into, in case something destroys me, that is one of the reason why when I sense a danger to my existence, I protest, I struggle, I protest and protect. Both I do that. And why? Since if something endangers my existence, if something's become a threat to my existence, and since it is against my true nature, it is against my true form. That's why, being against my true form, I will protest against it. I will actually struggle against it to actually eradicate that cause or eliminate that cause, or move away from that particular cause. I will do everything possible within me to move away from that. This thought is not coming out of culture at all. It is not a created culture. It is something which is inherent in all of us, and I give you example of animals here also. This thought is nothing but an expression of my true nature. This thought of protection and thought of my existence, the thought of protecting my own existence, self existence, is nothing but an expression of my true nature only. My nature is in the form of existence, consciousness, bliss. And in the same way, the second thought, that I want to remain fulfilled and contented, I want to remain happy, I have a desire to be happy and blissful all the time. I want to reach a state where there is no disturbance to my happiness at all, or I want to gain peace in my life forever. This is a natural thought in all of us. It is why? Because it is an expression of my true nature. That is why it is a natural thought. The bliss or ananda is my true nature. That's why, we all want it, we all need it. But what happens today with us? Because of our ignorance about our true nature, we feel that it is not something which is there inherent in me. That's why I chase after it, I run after it, because I think that it is not with me right now. And till the time, and we have this sense that it is not something with me, that blissful state or happiness, till that time it will give birth to desires in us. Desire is for what? Desire is to gain happiness. Every desire in us is actually to gain happiness. Why? Because we have an inherent thought that happiness is not there with me right now. It is something which is not gained by me. I have to gain it yet. The moment I understand my true nature, that's when I stop chasing or stop having desire, so to say, to come in me. The third core desire in all of us, which is not so clear if you really think, is that is the thought of not becoming insentient. What does insentient mean? Sentiency means conscious, being conscious of things. Now, this is something which we all need to listen to it pretty carefully and take it back and think over it before I end the session today. Remaining, I'll take it in the next one. Now, what is the expression of insentientness? The insentientness expression is seeming ignorant in front of others, seeming a fool in front of others. Now, all of us, if you really, look at the core of all of us, none of us want to be seen ignorant by others. None of us want to be seen uneducated by others. none of us want to be labeled as fool by others, isn't it? None of us want to hear, what a man, you cannot think even this much. Your intellect is what? Is completely insentient, has become so gross, has become like a stump of a tree or what? It is dried up. It cannot manifest even a single thought. What's wrong with you? Do you have an intellect or not? If somebody says that, how torturing it is for us, isn't it? So now remember one thing, all of us, but rather none of us, want to be proved as not knowledgeable or unknowledgeable or fooled by anyone anywhere. You know, even if somebody is not so intelligent also, even those who are not so intelligent, not so educated, not so much filled with wisdom, in spite of that also, even though they know that, but still they all have this desire that I should not be considered an ignorant outside. I should not be considered an unpad or nasamaj outside. Unpad or nasamaj means someone who's uneducated or completely, non-aware of situations outside. Nobody wants to be seen like that. Now, even though inherently somebody may feel, I know that I'm not so knowledgeable, I know sometimes I do, small kind of foolishness. In spite of that, I don't want people outside to know that. Isn't that something which is inherent in all of us? Just think over it actually. Now we all make an effort, we all have this desired urge also, that I should not be proved as uneducated or non-knowledgeable or a fool outside. All of us make an effort. Now if you really see it carefully, you will see that anybody becomes a laughing stock because of their foolishness only. You just see outside. That is why I said this is something which is not easily comprehensible. Anybody becomes a laughing stock because of foolishness only, or because of something which they said is completely, how a non-educated may speak. So now remember one thing, nobody wants to become the subject of laughing. Nobody wants to become an object of laugh of others. I don't want others to laugh at my cost. I want to give them happiness, but not by laughing at me. Nobody wants that to happen. Now, here I would want to give you one small example, and I'll tie it back to the previous core thought also. The thought of remaining happy. Let me pick up from there. Just look carefully at a child in the cradle who doesn't know how to speak, doesn't know how to react, so to say. He is completely unaware of the surroundings so clearly. But tell me something, even that child in the cradle also, isn't that child also looking for happiness? Now, who taught it? Where is the culture? Culture has not manifested yet. It is not even created yet. That is why I said it is coming naturally. If you want to see the natural thoughts, now look at a child, small child carefully. They are an expression of these natural expressions. Lift a child and I'm not saying try this. I'm saying if anybody just what do you call that? Make the child go in the air and catch it, the child will have fear. Why? Because it's an existential threat. Child fears that if I fall down, I'll lose my existence. Child wants to remain happy all the time. It is something which that child looks for. It comes in the lap of parents, it comes in the arms of parents, or it asks for the arms of parents because it feels that it is protected there, it finds happiness there. That is that's how you should look at a child. Now another thing I'll bring out from a child perspective, small child is don't test it, you just listen to what I'm saying. If anybody he makes an expression at the child and laughs at the child, trust me, the child won't like it that much. May not say anything because it's not in a position to say anything, but remember one thing, it is something which the child inherently doesn't like. Why? Because these three things are against my true nature: Sat, Chit and Anand. Even a child also does not want to become a laughing stock of others. We may say, narrate incidents of the child and we laugh, she did this, he did that, and all those things, but that is for our own love for them. But remember, we don't do that in front of the child. Why? Because child also doesn't like being laughed at so much, so to say. So nobody in this creation want to become a laughing stock of others. These are my core properties in me. These are the core foundational thought in me, and these are the only three thoughts, only three things which are natural in all of us. All of us. So what to talk about child? Even if you have a pet at home, try making face at the pet and laugh at it. You will see the reaction yourself. I don't have to go further, too far about that at all. So these three thoughts are nothing but an expression of my true core nature as Sat, Chit and Anand. Satchidananda Rupaya. You should remember that. The moment I say Satchidananda, remember that verse, which remember that mantra which I chant in the beginning of the podcast every episode. So this is nothing but an expression of the core thought. Now, many times we see we may end up laughing at ourselves when we are alone, but still we don't want to become a laughing stock for others. Why? Because it is against my true nature as Chit, as Chinmay. It is against my true form of Chinmay, true Swarup of Chinmay Swarup. It is against that. That is why I don't want that thing to happen. I don't want to encourage that at all. I don't want to get into that situation at all. Uh, you know, the true nature is what? In the form of consciousness itself. And this is getting proved that it is, I want to be seen as conscious. I want to be seen as vigilant. Even if in the class, I'm just giving you an example which suddenly struck my mind. In the class also, somebody is sitting in the class and feeling sleepy. I'm just giving you an example. Okay. And suddenly teacher looks at that person and this person is feeling sleepy. Teacher notices it. Teacher calls out the name. Hey, you, are you sleeping in my class? So in front of the class, what is the answer? Immediate answer which will come out of the kid. No, ma'am, nothing. Then the teacher may say, now the child will also be thinking, I wish and pray that teacher doesn't ask me what she was teaching. Then it will be a struggle for me to continuously praise that. Why? Because doesn't want to be laughed at by others, as does not want to become a laughing stock of others. So this is something which is there in terms of core thing. If we really look at all of us, this is what is coming from a core true nature of all of us, and this is one of the reason and for these thoughts to come out. Now if this consciousness is not would not have been my true nature, and if this thought would not have been in the core of my personality, then trust me, there would not have been any schools in this creation. There would not have been any gurukul in this creation. There would not have been any university in this creation. There would not have been any books. The reason why all these exist is that man wants to enrich himself with knowledge, wants to prove himself with his knowledge, wants to be seen as knowledgeable in the world. People who do graduation, there are many. I'm telling you one thing, I'm bringing it out here itself. And I said this very point blank when I spoke about ashram vyavastha in one of my podcasts. The four ashrams, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, they are built very, very carefully by our Rishi Parampara. They have coined, built, what should I say, built? They are coined by our Rishi Parampara very clearly. Now, brahmacharya is a time when somebody invests in himself to gain knowledge. Now, why I brought it out, I'm telling you, there are many youngsters who during that time are doing all other things except studies. They will not realize it at that time, but later on in life, they will realize what a big blunder they did. Why? Because the time of study is gone. And if in that time you are doing everything except what is to be done in the brahmacharya ashram, trust me, your life is going to be a hell. Your life is going to be very difficult for you. Now, the biggest thing you need to remember is that is the time to invest in yourself and enrich yourself with knowledge. You can do it and you must do it. And this is one of the reason, because consciousness is part of my true nature. That's why all of us want to who educate ourselves, become knowledgeable in this creation, want to enrich ourselves with knowledge, want to go to the college, want to gain a degree, want to be seen by other people that he also knows, he or she also knows. It's not that they are ignorant. Want to be called among intelligent people in the world. All those things come because of this core thing in my character, in my personality, in me, which is natural in me, that I am consciousness itself. These are expression of consciousness only. In all these thoughts, or all these thoughts of getting educated and remaining existent all come. Why? Because they are coming from my core thought as Sat Chit and Anand. If anybody wants to really realize, they can go deeper into one own self and say, hey, all of us have this thought in us that my knowledge should increase. This is why all these schools, colleges and other things are there, that I want to enrich myself with knowledge. And the desire for knowledge also is an expression of the consciousness portion of my true self. That is what we need to understand. Till the time we understand life in its entirety and we do not think about life in its entirety, till that time our basic foundation of life cannot be right. I just recently created announced this association with Google in terms of getting into YouTube and YouTube music, and created a channel by the name Vedanta, the Science of Life. In that description of the channel, I've written there, actually Vedant philosophy or Vedant darshan of Sanatan Dharma talks about life in entirety. When you talk about life in entirety, you cannot leave any aspect of life. You cannot leave anything for any kind of candidate in this creation. That is why, if when you do not see the life in its entirety, then your basic foundational philosophies will become wrong. And when your basic foundational philosophies are wrong, then your analysis of life will be wrong, and your analysis of life and your handling of life cannot be correct at all. This is why it is important for us to come and study Sanatan Dharma philosophy, Sanatan Dharma Darshan. Bhagavad Gita profoundly talks about life in entirety. That is why there are 18 chapters. Bhagawan has not left out any topic in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a manual of life. Let me be upfront in telling you that. It is a manual of life in such a way that it is definitely going to contribute towards your vertical growth. It is not possible that you studied Gita and nothing has moved in terms of your vertical growth. Not possible at all. Other sides of education, let me tell you, I'm bringing out some aspects. Other education which we have in the array of world today, like engineering and other things, the downside, I'll tell you, of those sides. I'm not saying that don't do it, but I'm saying unless and until you understand yourself well and you can become constructive about yourself, contributive about yourself, the other educations are not going to do any good to you. They may end up doing harm only for you. One of the thing I'll bring out is many terrorists, if you know about them, you will know many of them are well learned engineers and all. Then what went wrong? We need to think over these things. We can, what you call that, we can say loudly that they become terrorists, what a what a problem with them, they did not lead correctly. But if you don't understand the core of it you will not be able to reach a solution. We can crib and cry about it, but we can do nothing about it. The core of it is They may have got educated about one side of this is in this creation. Remember one thing I'm telling you honestly, okay? Here I'm using this forum only to say that at creation, remember one thing, man cannot create anything. We cannot create anything. And when I said, we have no right to destroy anything in this creation, at that time also said, man cannot create anything. Then what are these phones and instruments and weapons and other things which are coming up? Man can only invent, can only discover. We need to understand these two words. Invent means what? Create or mold things in this creation into a new thing. That's all man can do. Man cannot create the five elements. Whatever man creates is within the five elements only. So that is why I'm saying, if with education you do not have the correct understanding of life, you do not have the correct analysis of life, if then your education will not do any good to you, rather there are high possibilities that it may drown you, it may destroy you forever. That is why I'm giving you the example of terrorists and all who are so well educated. Some of them are engineers and all. What went wrong? Their analysis of life was wrong. Their understanding of life was wrong. Their understanding about the creation and their role was wrong. That is where they went wrong. So if we do not have the correct understanding of life, we cannot create a positive life for ourselves. If we cannot create a positive life for ourselves, we cannot expect to reach higher lokas or reach a positive life after. Afterlife, how can you grow when you are doing destructive things here? It's such a mistaken thought of us. I don't know who are these people who are brainwashing such who are these idiots who are brainwashing such people, and these people are falling into the trap of that also. Anyway, the thing is, if the understanding, the analysis of life is not right, then the way we lead of our life can never be correct at all. That's why these three core thoughts I spoke about are natural in every being. And you can see this even in an ant also. In an ant also, expression of this thought in it, the personality of an ant. I'm purposely using that word, personality of an ant. Every ant has got its own persona. It's not that we only have got a persona. You should sometimes spend time watching the creation. You see, God so beautifully created this creation. I don't think there is anything in this creation from where you cannot learn. The only thing is that have a positive outlook, have a correct vision, have a correct analysis of life, have a correct understanding of life. Come to those people to study who have a correct understanding of life. That is what you have to choose. So you will see in an ant also, you cannot say that the personality is not existing there. You cannot say that these three core thoughts are non-existent there. And you cannot say that thoughts which only come and express at a particular point in time in a particular situation are the only ones which can be called as natural thought. Those thoughts which are natural in us must qualify these three conditions. It should be sarvakalik, it should be there in all three periods of time. It should be sarvadeshik, it should be there in every place. In it should be pervaded in the space. In the means that it should be there in everyone. Sarvadeshik, it should be there in it should be sarvadeshik means it should be there at everywhere. It should be there sarvakalik, all three periods of time. And sarvadeshik should be there in each and every place, is all places in this creation. It should be there sarvajanin, it should be there in everyone in this creation. Then only you can say that this is a what you call that, a natural thought. We should give an attention to such things rather than giving attention to the momentary thoughts which arise in us. As with a particular situation, a particular thought arise, they cannot be called as natural thought at all. How we react to a situation actually depends on the culture we have created within us. Okay, except these three thoughts core I spoke about. when something comes as an existential threat to me, I will react. That is a natural thing. I will react, but how I react to it will depend upon the culture I've cultivated. But I will react for sure. That is coming from my natural thought, the core thought of mine. So we need to understand, we cannot say only those thoughts which express at a particular situation, at a particular moment, are the natural thought. Rest all are on completely non-natural at all. That is not correct to say. These three thoughts I spoke about, at the core of it, actually is there inherent in all of us. It guides our life to an extent, and it is part and parcel of each one of our life. At the level of our inner equipment, antakarana, these three core thoughts express all the time as desire. That's why I said all of us have desire. Even those who are evolved beings also, they have desire, right? We all want to remain existent, we all want to become knowledgeable, and we all want to become contented and fulfilled, because it is the expression of my true nature as Satchidan Anand. Rest all kinds of vasanas and all kinds of thoughts, we should not misconstrue them as natural in nature. They are all cultivated, created, manufactured, sown by us. As it should use in correct sequence. They are all sown by us, cultivated by us, and entertained by us. And because they are entertained by us, they remain in us till the time we know that they need to be corrected. All culture, every culture is sown and cultivated. And even when we talk about the culture of enjoyment also, and even we talk about the culture of yoga also, as I said, that we cannot say that at any of them or either of them are natural. They are both cultivated. And we must work towards cultivating good thoughts and positive things in our life. Why? So that our life becomes on the correct path and we are able to contribute positively to ourselves. And only when we contribute positively to ourselves, then only we can contribute positively to the society. When we can contribute positively to the society, that's when people start to look up to you to get inspired. These are the thoughts we need to remember. If someone claims that the thought of desire or culture of desire is there, but cannot be any culture of yoga, then and for coming to such a conclusion, and this person has gone into wrong kind of thought process. That conclusion is not correct at all. This conclusion cannot be considered as correct at all. For reaching such a conclusion, the thing is, this person has not understood the reality of a jiva, reality of a life in totality. That is the reason to come to such conclusion. Now, most important thing I need to highlight is, a jiva is coming from time immemorial, and innumerable lives have already, a jiva has already lived innumerable lives. In those innumerable lives, different kinds of cultures have already been sown and cultivated. And in amongst all those cultures cultivated, definitely if yoga and dhyana etc was cultivated, those are also part of those category of thoughts cultivated, culture cultivated by a particular person. Now we must segregate the key what you call that culture cultivated by a jiva from life to life into two categories. We should actually split the category. One is normal ones which we see as an expression in life, and one is the one which actually puts them onto vertical path, like what I mentioned, the four things: yoga, and then dhyana, and then what do you call that, sadhana, and then bhakti. All these things. That's why you will see in the group I keep telling this to people. It is immaterial that when you what you gain immediately. Don't see immediate gain. When you study in school and college also, so let me just take an example. You studied from class 1 to class 12. You studied 12 years. Did you, after first class, started asking in parents, what is the advantage I got? You won't get the advantage immediately. That is what happens with everything in life. That's why don't be in a hurry to look at advantage when you start doing sadhana, when you start doing bhakti. I keep telling this very clearly in the group that please remember, have a strict regime of prayer. Prayer should be something which you should never leave home without. You should always is do prayer and then only step out of the home for your work. You should always work towards growing in love and devotion for God. And the third thing is that don't lose an opportunity to earn punya. You don't know what these three things will pay you. It is it builds up over a period of time, and trust me, I'm telling you, none of your financial gains can pay you anything even close to it. It even, what do you call that, 1 millionth close to it what these can pay. So you need to remember, these are things we must all continuously should work around. One of the things which people in the group also, and some people have come and asked me, while doing prayer and sadhana, there are times when I feel lost, and then should I leave it at that time? No, you should not. Mind has got this habit of playing around. Mind does not want to be controlled. These are all plays of mind. You must do it. Even if mind runs here and there, do it, because that regularity is going to pay you sometime. And a day will come when mind will follow that regime and automatically come under control at that time also. That's why never lose an opportunity to do that. So whenever a person does sadhana, whenever a person and does spiritual practices, remember, every time a positive culture is being cultivated in the mind, whether in this life, if we are able to see the result completely or not, it is immaterial. But remember that culture slowly, gradually is depositing in ourselves and becoming a huge deposit for us in some point in maybe this life, maybe next life. For sure it will be definitely coming it out as a big investment, which is going to pay me what I cannot even think of. When they start paying, that's when we are able to see the result. uh, that person, and then that what happens, how does it pay you? That thought which has been cultivated, that culture which has been cultivated, slowly, gradually starts to guide you in your life. It starts to become the light of guiding light in your life. It starts to become the guiding force in your life. And it is possible, it is going to come in Bhagavad Gita also, and you will see in this creation also, it is quite possible when these positive culture reaches a point that some people, they are born, even from childhood itself, even from childhood itself, you will see that there are some people who are inward looking, antarmukhi, and they are inward looking, and they just continue from where they left in their last life. Those are the people who, in there are people in the childhood itself who become renunciate. How is it possible? Small children singing glory of Bhagawan and walking the path of spirituality, it is really a wonder. All these wonders are there in creation because the preparation has already happened in previous life. They are only continuing from there. Bhagavan himself will say such people are born in such a family where that kind of habit gets, it's a positive air to cultivate and move on from there. So that's Bhagavan himself will say in Bhagavad Gita itself. So we'll see those people who do not understand life completely, they are not able to understand this, the reason for this, that why is a child so inward looking? Why is that he does not have any culture of bhog at all? Why his bhog, his culture of desire is so low intensity? What is the reason? And examples I can give you is Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, they were all inward looking and subtle oriented and intellect and inner equipment since childhood itself. How did that happen? And there are some child who we can see around us also, that they from the childhood itself they can close their eyes and meditate. How? They from childhood itself they are into worship of Bhagwan. I have seen children who are so attached to idols of Bhagwan that they keep it to their heart and keep roaming around, and the moment you take it away from them they start crying. There are children like that. And there are some times when even the family environment may not be conducive for it, but still they are able to do everything what to grow in their environment. Why? Because their personality is so strong, their culture is so strong. And jivas with such kind of culture are, even though they get a human life, but since they are qualified for the path of renunciation, they are adhikari for the nivritti marg, or that's why for them shastra and guru reaches them and gives them with nivritti margdarshak thing. Means what? Gives them with the knowledge which can lead them correctly into the path of renunciation, will give them with the knowledge to lead them correctly on the path of renunciation. Those jivas are qualified a for the path of renunciation or nivritti pradhan life, or renunciation oriented life, or scripture oriented life. They become students, they become qualified for, or following or being guided by, or being in the tutelage of nivritti pradhan or renunciation oriented scriptures, nivritti pradhan shastra. They become the disciple and students of such scriptures, and they live and lead a life under the discipline of such nivritti pradhan and scriptures, and they are able to lead their life correctly into realization, even though such jivas are very small in number. That's what we need to remember. In jivas, the culture of bhoga, or the tendency of bhog or desire or enjoyership, is also built up over a period of lives. Now, the thought of doership, karta bhav, is also there in everyone, but the intensity is different in each one of us. In the same way, the bhokta bhav, enjoyership, also is there in each one of us, but the intensity is definitely different in each one of us. The rajogun and tamogun also, the gunas of rajas and tamas also is there in all of us, but it is there in different quantities in each one of us. These gunas, the sattva, rajas and tamas, they are the core or elements of this of all of us, core elements of all of us. They are the core elements in this entire creation. And even the mind, intellect, inner equipment is made of sattvic aspect of these core elements. So we need to remember of sattva, rajas and tamas. Of sattva, so even though these elements are also core in all of us, but at the mixture, the way the mixture is there in all of us, which one is higher and which one is lower, will define that what kind of a life I am going to lead. Those people in whom the doership is very strong, enjoyership is very strong, and rajas is also there in good amount of quantity, tamas is also existing in a very good high level of quantity. They are externally looking, externally focused, bahirmukta is there. Such a person will become a qualified student for pravritti marg, or the path of action. Okay, and when I say he's qualified for the path of action, and the actual essence of that means what? Or if this person decides to do the action in the light of guidance from scriptures and Sanatan Dharma and Guru, remember, in him the culture of pravritti, the culture of action also they also start to slowly, gradually become loosened up. They start to become powerless. They start to lose their power slowly, gradually. And once that becomes slowly, gradually powerless or lose their power, this person will start turning into becoming inwardly focused. And over a period of time of being inwardly focused, this person will also become a qualified student of the path of renunciation. And this is what Bhagawan has mentioned and at the end of the second chapter. And this is why Bhagavan in the second chapter said this way, that the person will become the adhikari of yoga buddhi. Yoga buddhi means what is a yoga buddhi? Karma yoga buddhi. Now the grace and blessing of yoga buddhi or karma yoga buddhi is what? The contribution of yoga buddhi in one's life is what? One who adapts this way of life, if that's why it is scripture is called way of life, Sanatana Dharma is called way of life. One who adopts this particular way of life, the one who is adopting this way, it will make it capable student, or it will give him or her the required qualification to become a qualified student for Sankhya Buddhi. Sankhya Buddhi means the knowledge about the self or the Nivritti mark, so to say. Yoga Buddhi is actually like a mother, and Sankhya Buddhi is like a father. Now, why I gave that example? Now, don't be after me. I'm giving you an example for a reason here. Now, don't pinpoint. Now, these days, mother and father both are doing these kind of things. I'm not trying to say. Please understand the gist of what I'm trying to say. Let me just take this example. In the olden times, mother used to have the primary responsibility of the child. I'm saying used to have. There is a reason I'm saying this. Now both parents are working, so that the responsibility shift is there. Earlier times it never used to be there like that. In the olden times, mother used to have the primary responsibility of a child. What mother used to do, very critical to a mother only, or to mother only, personal to the mother only. Mother used to clean the child, used to give child a bath, and used to give new sets of clothes for the child, used to wash the clothes of the child also. And once the child is already bathed and washed and cleaned and everything, and the new set of clothes are there, that's when, and father's vatsalya bhav, love for the child used to rise at that time, and the father used to hold the child. Now when I say yoga buddhi is matravat, means what? Yoga buddhi cleanses us from all that and makes us prepared and a qualified student for the Sankhya Buddhi. It prepares us in such a way that we are ready to receive the self knowledge. We are ready to receive the knowledge which is what is there for the path of renunciation. That's why Yoga Buddhi, like a mother, her, ensures that the child, which is sadhak, which is a seeker, is completely cleaned up with culture, completely filled with culture. That's when, and what do you call that? He's ready to be passed on to Sankhya Buddhi, ready to be passed on to the father. That's when you would say that seeker becomes ready and qualified to gain Sankhya Buddhi and come under the tutelage of Sankhya Buddhi and make a difference in life and walk the path of realization. This much for today. Rest we'll see in the next session. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति 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 ही। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम तत्सत्।